She had traveled down every path. She constructed temples of intention, recited words of power with the rising sun, and etched her hopes onto paper with deliberate care. She kept chronicles of gratitude and learned the prescribed rituals from a dozen respected guides. Yet, the landscape of her life remained unchanged. The connection she sought did not deepen. The nourishment she needed did not arrive. Her own life force felt stagnant. More than stagnant, it felt vacant. Then, one quiet afternoon, a shift occurred. She was walking a familiar path in the woods with no destination. No rehearsed thought, no verse playing in her spirit, only a sense of profound stillness. And in that quiet space, she glanced upward, and it seemed the world around her opened in a new way. A clear insight arose, not from her striving mind, but as if it flowed through her. You have been building from a foundation of emptiness. The truth washed over her. Every word of power had been tinged with the subtle hue of desperation. Every map to her future had whispered, "You have not yet arrived." Each intention was carved from a sense of being separate, not from a sense of wholeness. That was the moment she released her grip and life began to flow toward her. What was transformed? This journey is not unique to one soul. It speaks to a universal law that many, even those devoted to a life of awareness, often overlook. The great current of life does not respond to your demands. It responds to the clarity of your inner state. And most of us carry inner storms, not inner stillness. We have been led to believe that aligning with life's flow is an intricate task, that it requires immense effort, layers of preparation, mental discipline, and constant measuring of progress. But what if this inner noise is the very reason your world has not yet found its harmony? What if true strength is found in simplicity? There is a reason the great sages, mystics, and ancient wisdom traditions all point toward the same understanding. The observer brings harmony to their world not by wrestling with it, but by becoming still enough to resonate with it. Yet, stillness is not what most people cultivate. Most people cultivate attachment. They grasp for a thing so fiercely that their own inner space becomes turbulent. Their minds fill with strategies, their hearts fill with uncertainty, and their presence becomes clouded. And the great mirror of existence, which reflects back your most constant state, simply shows you the clouds you are radiating. Herein lies the great paradox. The more forcefully you pursue something, the more it seems to retreat. This is not a punishment from life. Your very strain is a declaration of its absence. It is not here. And in the realm of truth, that becomes your experience. The woman on the path did not receive because she abandoned her journey. She received because in abandoning the noise, she could finally hear the quiet melody. She ceased to project effort. She began to embody space, and existence cannot help but respond to a tranquil heart. So, in our time together, we will not add more layers of technique. We will begin to peel back the complexity. We will explore why the simplest inner shift is the most profound, and why it remains so rare. Because simplicity requires a foundation of trust, and this trust is the true gateway to wisdom. In the next moments, we will touch upon the natural laws that explain why simplicity holds such power. We'll understand how the flow of life answers to a clear presence, and how your very attempts to get it right might be the source of the distortion. If you have ever felt that you are walking all the right paths, but arriving nowhere, remain here. The truth is simpler than you know, yet it is not what you have been told. Why does simplicity carry such power in the grand design of things? And why do most of us unconsciously turn away from it? Because many do not truly seek harmony. They seek control, and the act of control is the very opposite of harmony. Let us go deeper. In the quiet teachings of nature, existence does not await us in a rigid, predefined form. It rests as pure potential, a field of boundless possibility, until our awareness gives it shape. That awareness is consciousness. That awareness is you. But here is the part that is often missed. It is not our wanting alone that brings forth a new reality. It is the serene state of our being that stands behind the intention. Imagine a pond. You wish to see the clear moon reflected on its surface, But your hand constantly stirs the water, creating endless ripples. Chaos, distorted light, fractured images. This is the inner state of so many, asking the universe for peace while radiating turmoil, yearning for connection while projecting a sense of separation, seeking abundance while embodying a fear of lack. And so, the great pond of life reflects more ripples, because it does not understand your words, your plans, or your maps. It understands the state of your being, and that state must be stable enough to hold a clear reflection. This is why our connection to life becomes so much more simple and powerful when we release the layers of trying, forcing, and controlling. Because in that stillness, the inner reflection sharpens, the heart stabilizes, the intention becomes pure. Ancient wisdom speaks of a principle of resonance. It describes how a system of energy, when it becomes entangled with too many conflicting influences, loses its natural, unified harmony. Now, let us apply that to our own spirit. You are a field of being your spirit, your presence, your emotional home. But when you allow yourself to be pulled by doubt, by comparison, by overthinking, by the need for others to approve, your inner world loses its coherence. You lose the tranquil clarity that allows your path to unfold with grace. This is why those who move through life with an effortless grace seem to be doing nothing at all. They are not careless. They are clear. They have ceased their attempts to direct the outcome and have instead become the living essence of that outcome. They inhabit a state that feels, which is already whole, not just in thought, but in their very presence. This is where simplicity becomes your greatest strength. When you clear away the mental clutter and the emotional storms, you offer existence a clear pattern to mirror. You become a peaceful vessel, a steady light, and life ceases to be a mystery. It becomes a reflection. But this is where it becomes even more profound. When you simplify your inner world, your outer journey quickens. There is less friction against the current of life, less drag, fewer competing forces. This is not mere philosophy. It is a law of nature. A wise thinker once described the universe not as a collection of separate fragments, but as a single, seamless whole. A vast, silent ocean holding all things within it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your inner state, they ripple out into this ocean and are reflected back as the shores of your experience. So, the question becomes, what are you sending into this vast ocean? Turbulence or tranquility? Noise or neutrality? Effort or a state of serene knowing? Most people have been taught to believe that achievement, healing, and love all demand struggle, hard work, and sacrifice. This belief is rooted so deeply that when someone suggests it can be simple, the mind immediately resists. Why? Because simplicity threatens the identity built by our struggles. If the path can be simple, then perhaps I have been making it difficult because, deep down, I do not feel worthy of ease. Or perhaps I still believe that my value is measured by my burdens. This is where deep spiritual practice and the laws of nature converge. Simplicity is not a shortcut. It is a return to your authentic nature. And when you come back to that state, unburdened, unattached, untroubled, the universe does not need to be persuaded. It simply aligns. In the next moments, we will illuminate the most common inner pattern that keeps people caught in loops of complexity and explore how to break free. You will see why grasping is often the very thing that prevents you from holding. Because the universe does not give you what you desperately crave, it gives you who you are. And the more simply you embody that truth, the more swiftly everything comes into harmony. Stay with me. The transformation occurs not when you force it, but when you allow it. Let us speak of the subtle trap that most people fall into. The one that quietly prevents their world from harmonizing, even when they believe they are doing everything correctly. It is the energy of grasping. Grasping seems innocent. It sounds like sincere desire. It feels like great passion. But in the quiet truth of existence, there is a profound difference between aspiration and grasping. Aspiration arises from an open heart. Grasping arises from a sense of incompletion. Aspiration says, it would be beautiful to walk this path. Grasping says, I must have this or I am not whole. And the universe always reflects your dominant state of being. Not your words, not your plans, not your hopes, your inner resonance. When you operate from a state of grasping, even with the purest intentions, your very being sends a constant message. It is absent. I am without. I am incomplete. And life, in its wisdom, responds with perfect congruence. You are correct. It is absent. Let's look at this more closely. In a state of pure potential, every possible path, a path of abundance, of healing, of love, of strength, already exists as a dormant reality. But you do not pull these paths toward you. You do not chase them. You awaken to them. You invite their possibility into your physical experience through a harmonious inner state. And that harmony is not achieved by force. It is achieved by becoming. When you are in a state of grasping, you identify as one who is lacking. But when you shift into a state of being, the version of you who already walks in wisdom, who already feels whole, who simply is, you make that path your present reality, effortlessly. This is why the wise teachers, from ancient times to now, have all spoken of one simple, yet often misunderstood, principle. You do not call to you what you want, you call to you what you ever are. But here is the truth that many teachings pass over. You cannot pretend to make this shift. You cannot mentally declare, I am already whole, while your heart resonates with need, with urgency, with frustration. The universe is not convinced by your words, it feels your coherence. This is why simplicity is not just easier, it is infinitely more powerful. Because when you release the emotional weight of grasping, you become available to receive. Think of those you have known who seem to move through life with grace. They were not straining. They were not fixated. They were not measuring their progress every hour. They were simply being, living, trusting. They had let go of the inner tension of grasping, and in doing so, their presence became a quiet invitation for life to flow to them. This is not passivity. This is alignment. Grasping is a contracted state. It pulls your very presence inward. It says to the universe, I am a space of incompletion. Being is an expanded state. It radiates wholeness. It says, I am a vessel of peace. That is the state the universe mirrors. So how do you make this shift? Not through more doing. It is made through a subtle yet profound reorientation of your inner self. You stop trying to become the person who walks in abundance, and you begin to act as the person who would never question it. You stop asking, how do I find that path? And start feeling, I am already on it. You do not picture a future to make it happen. You picture it to stabilize your sense of inner peace. You do not speak words because you are uncertain. You speak them because the truth is already settled within you. This shift in being is internal, quiet, often unseen by others, but felt profoundly in your own heart. And the moment you shift from grasping to being, existence begins to rearrange itself around your new presence. Because you are no longer asking. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer radiating separation. You have become the peaceful state you once thought was outside of you. And in that moment, the illusion of separation dissolves. In the next moments, we will bring this inner shift into the physical world with a daily practice. It is so simple, yet so deeply harmonizing, that you will begin to feel existence bending gently around your new sense of self. Not because you willed it to, but because you finally ceased needing it to. And that is when everything begins to find its way to you. So, how do you truly shift from grasping to being, from inner noise to inner quiet, from hoping to knowing? It is not through more action. It is through a re-harmonizing of your inner world. And it begins in the first few moments of your day. The way you greet the morning sets the tone for your entire presence. Most people awaken directly into separation, reaching for a device, recalling their troubles, replaying narratives of limitation. Let us dissolve that pattern. Here is a simple practice. Not a technique, not a trick, but a way to steady your being in a state of serene knowing. We will call it the practice of inner arrival. And it takes only a few quiet moments. Yet, the flow of life begins to feel the shift almost instantly. First, awaken into stillness. Before you reach for your phone, Before you replay the story of yesterday, simply place a hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe in gently for a count of 5. Hold for 5. And exhale slowly for a count of 7. Repeat this 3 times. This simple act calms the waves of the mind, bringing you to a place of quiet awareness. It activates the tranquil field of the heart, the most powerful and coherent center of your being. Ancient wisdom has long known that a peaceful heart creates a peaceful world. Second, affirm what is true. Aloud or within your heart, speak of the reality you are choosing to embody, but not from a place of hoping, from a place of settled peace. For instance, today, I walk in harmony and abundance. I am a space of love. I do not wait. I am present. Keep the intention clear and simple. No long lists, no tone of desperation, just 1 or 2 pure qualities spoken from a centered self. Why does this matter? When you speak from a state of being, your body begins to align with that truth. And remember, the universe reflects who you consistently are. Third, feel its reality for 90 seconds. Close your eyes and allow your entire being to rest in the quality you have invoked. Sense it, feel it, but more than anything, breathe it into yourself. Not with strain, but with surrender, with a quiet certainty. Here is the essence of the practice. You are not doing this to make something happen. You are doing this to best remember that, in your essence, it is already true. Once your inner world believes this, your presence begins to radiate it. And once your presence is steady, the outer world begins to harmonize with it. It is truly this simple. The laws of nature do not demand 20 steps. They do not require proof of your struggle. They require a clear and consistent presence. But here is the beautiful part. When you simplify your inner world, your outer journey becomes clearer as well. Meaningful coincidences appear more frequently. Obstacles seem to dissolve. Your relationships shift. The path unfolds. You are no longer moving through life, trying to force things to happen. You are walking as someone who already knows their way. And that knowing is a gentle, powerful force. Now, before we continue, I invite you to anchor this feeling with a simple gesture. In the comments below, write the words, "I am open." Let that be your quiet declaration to life. Not that you are trying harder, but that you are allowing more. Because when you truly allow, life responds not with maybe, but with momentum. In the moments to come, we will explore why this simplicity is so often resisted and how the mind can become accustomed to the very complexity that keeps you traveling in circles. We will also reveal how to remain in this state of peace without constantly looking for outer signs. This is the final key to letting life unfold naturally, because that is the great secret. It was never meant to be a struggle. You just grew accustomed to the noise. Here is something rarely discussed on the path of inner growth. Something that may feel uncomfortable at first, yet deeply freeing once understood. Most are not afraid that their true path will fail to unfold. They are afraid that its will, and that the self they have known will not understand how to exist in that new landscape. This is what keeps you circling in complexity, in spiritual business, in a deep resistance to simplicity. Because simplicity asks for one thing, that the striving mind cannot counterfeit surrender. And surrender feels like an ending to the part of you that has built its identity on effort, on fixing, on proving, and on chasing. So when a quiet voice tells you, the journey is already complete within you, your mind answers, but if I stop trying, will I not lose my way? This is the paradox. You seek ease, but you have been conditioned to feel safe in struggle. You yearn for flow, but you have been praised your entire life for your effort. And so, your very system has learned to associate peace with risk, and complexity has become your shelter. To go deeper, we see this in nature. A river that has carved a certain path for ages will resist changing its course, even if a new path is shorter and clearer. As humans, you believe you are creating a new path, but your being is still vibrating with the emotional memory of effort. And so, the reality you experience mirrors not your deepest desires, but your most familiar patterns. This is why simplicity, true inner simplicity, is not always easy. Because to return to simplicity, You must be willing to release the identity that feels important in its complexity. The overthinker, the spiritual achiever, the one who needs to have it all figured out. But herein lies the liberation. Once you release the identity that is tied to trying, you become open to pathways you could never have forced. Because the version of you who is already living in harmony is not worrying about how to get there. He is already there. He does not check for signs every hour. He does not pray from a place of panic. He does not perform for an unseen judge. He awakens and simply radiates a quiet coherence. This is who you are becoming and who you have always been, beneath the noise. But how do you remain in that state without falling back into the old patterns of control? By learning the art of emotional neutrality. This does not mean being numb. It means being able to feel a wave of emotion without being swept away by it. When a doubt arises, you can observe it without becoming it. When the urge to fix or control appears, you can pause and breathe instead. You begin to live from a place of deep trust, anchoring yourself emotionally in a state that already knows the destination is assured. That emotional state is your signature. Not your thoughts, not your words, your state. Because the universe does not respond to what you are doing. It responds to who you are being while you are doing it. And being is not a performance. It is a return to your original state. Before you learned you had to force life, to chase connection, to earn your worth. Now that you are clearing that static, your inner field is opening. And as it opens, reality begins to shift in an organic way. That is what comes next. In the final part of our journey together, we will reveal how to maintain this new state, not with effort, but with presence. You will learn the final key, why detachment is not about a lack of caring, but about caring so deeply that you trust the flow of life to deliver something even better than your mind can plan. Because in this universe, your greatest breakthroughs do not come from trying harder. They come from letting go of the belief that the path must be hard. And once you do, what was stagnant begins to move. What felt distant becomes near. And what you once chased begins to find its way to you. So, here we are. You have unlearned the noise. You have remembered the path of simplicity. You have felt the inner shift. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. Now, the final question is, how do you remain here? How do you maintain this clear presence, this quiet harmony, this effortless alignment, when the world around you continues to pull you back into cycles of effort, urgency, and overthinking? The answer is not to fight the pull. It is to return, again and again, to the serene knowing of your deepest self. That part of you that already understands this journey is not about magic. It is about resonance. And resonance does not happen through strain. It happens through consistency. Consistency of presence, consistency of inner peace, consistency of being. You are not here to manipulate the world. You are here to become the embodiment of a world that is already in harmony. In the language of ancient wisdom, you are choosing your path not with your actions, but with your core resonance, your default emotional state, your inner posture, the unseen quality you radiate even in your silence. That is the truth so many overlook. They keep chasing outer methods, new rituals, new techniques, hoping to find the next key. But all the methods in the world are of little use if your sense of self is still anchored in lack. So let this be your practice. Let it be simple. Let it be clear. Let it feel complete. Because when you stop asking if it is coming, when you cease to question when it will appear, when you no longer resonate as someone who is in need, that is when the outer world aligns with your inner truth. Because life does not follow your timeline, it follows your inner state. And your inner state stabilizes the moment you no longer need outward proof. So as you walk through your day, let your peacefulness speak louder than your words. Let your presence transmit coherence. Let your posture carry the quiet dignity of someone who no longer lives in doubt. Because the universe cannot resist congruence. When you are aligned in thought, emotion, and being, you become a gentle magnet for everything you once pursued. And here is the most profound truth of all. The moment you no longer feel you need something, is the moment you step into the reality where it already exists. Because needing is a frequency, and having is a state of being. You do not need to convince the universe. You only need to convince your own heart. Let it feel what it is like to be whole. Let it anchor into the emotion of already here. Let it soften into the simplicity of just being. That is the shift. That is the true power. That is the wisdom of aligning with life. At the deepest level, you bring forth a new reality not by pushing, but by becoming the version of yourself who never had to push in the first place. And now that you have remembered this truth, the world has already changed. It is listening, it is arranging, it is reflecting. So if something within you has resonated, if you have felt even a flicker of relief, of clarity, of peace, let that become your new inner home. And if you wish to continue exploring this space with us, if you seek more than information, if you seek resonance, community, and deeper alignment, then subscribe, not just to see more, but to become more. Because this space is not about numbers. It is about nurturing a certain state of being. And if you are still here, it is not by chance. You are remembering what your spirit never forgot. It was never meant to be difficult. It was simply meant to be true. And living in truth is simpler than you think.